India participated in the 17th ASEAN-India Virtual Summit. India was invited by Vietnam, as Vietnam is currently holding the chairmanship of Association of Southeast Asian Nations. 10 Southeast Asian countries together form this group. The main focus of this meeting was to look into the economic losses that occurred due to the ongoing pandemic, and further create strategies and measures that would help in recovering. If you all remember, last year India walked out from the RCEP agreement. RCEP stands for Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership. It is a 15-nation agreement between China, Australia, South Korea, Japan, and ASEAN nations. This agreement is expected to be signed on November 15, 2020, and I guess it has been signed. India left this RCEP agreement because it did not address the issues and concerns of India. Let me quickly tell you about RCEP. RCEP is the world's largest trading bloc of Asia-Pacific countries. 15 Asia-Pacific nations on Sunday, November 15, 2020 signed this trade agreement, and together all these 15 nations nearly comprise of 1/3 of the world's population and 30% of the world's economic output. This agreement was signed virtually, and it is seen as an extension of China's influence in the Southeast Asian region. Now, due to ongoing pandemic, every country's economy is badly hit. So naturally, all the countries that are part of this trade deal will look forward for plans to recover from the pandemic. That means everyone has huge expectation from this trade bloc, and China is leading this trade bloc. And you must also know that Beijing has played an instrumental role in shaping this agreement and has kept it alive despite the challenges it has faced. As we all know, China is world's largest manufacturing economy and exporter of goods, and they also heavily depend on trade. This RCEP agreement will help China to shift its focus from overseas markets and technology and further elevate its political and economic influence in this region by flooding the market of these nations with cheap Chinese products. This is also the main reason why India pulled out of the agreement last year. Dumping of cheap Chinese goods in Indian market has not just affected the domestic businesses and industrial market, but also the export market of India, as many people are replacing Indian goods with Chinese ones. USA is not part of the RCEP agreement, and we also know that the US-China trade war started under Trump's administration. After the 2020 presidential election, the Democrats are in power. And if you all remember, Joe Biden, who is going to be the 46th president of US, previously he was the vice president under Obama's administration. And if you assess US-China relation under the Obama administration, it was a positive and most important bilateral relationship of the 21st century. So anyhow, the new president of the United States will try to foster the relationship between US and China. And as I've told you, with this RCEP agreement, China will look forward to elevate its political and economic influence, what has always been part of its expansionist policy. Now coming to India, India already took a decision of going against the Chinese expansionist policy by boycotting Chinese goods, and then the recent India-China border tension has triggered great animosity between both the countries. Then India is also part of the Quad group. The objective of the Quad coalition is to secure the Indo-Pacific region from Chinese expansion policy. I personally don't know what is going to happen to this Quad grouping. I personally think it will become weak over time because Trump is no longer the president. Japan and Australia are part of the RCEP agreement. They are more interested in recovering from the economic losses that happened during the pandemic. And I'm sure China will flood the markets of these nations with cheap Chinese products. India has to explore other ways to increase trade. India cannot certainly drop the narrative of boycotting the Chinese goods because massive sentiments are attached to it. And everyone knows that China uses Pakistan against India and North Korea against Japan. And now that the RCEP agreement has been signed on 15th November, the trade between RCEP nations will supersede the trade ties with other countries, including India. In other words, if India has to convince the ASEAN members or Japan or Australia in putting economic pressure on China, then it is not going to be that effective. That is why in the 17th ASEAN-India Virtual Summit, Prime Minister Modi called for an early review of ASEAN-India Trade in Goods Agreement, which was pending for a long time. Then if you remember India's Act East policy, Prime Minister Modi proposed it when he became the Prime Minister in 2014. India's Act East policy's primary objective is to promote economic cooperation and cultural ties and develop strategic relationship with countries in the Asia-Pacific region. Now, Indian government is also reviving this policy again because there is a saying that desperate times call for desperate measures. So India has to do everything it can to align its own interest and agendas with ASEAN's vision and goals, because this group plays an important and central role in Asian economic integration. And always remember this point: in international relations, there are no such things as friends or enemies. There are only interests. If today one country is supporting India, then tomorrow the same country can join hands with China. Foreign policy and international relations is a complicated subject. You can go as deep as you want, even still you will not be able to figure out the exact reasons behind a country's foreign policy decisions. I hope you found this video informative. Thanks for watching it.